Hello everyone, welcome to the video. Today we are going to learn about the basics of SAPUI5. So what exactly is SAPUI5? SAPUI5 is SAP's powerful front-end framework used to build modern enterprise-grade web applications or SAP systems. It's mainly used to create SAP FUD apps and business applications that run in the process. So SAP UI5 is mostly used for web-based applications. Think of it as SAP's version of React or Angular, but built specifically for business and enterprise use cases. SAP UI5 is built on core web technologies like JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. But on top of plain JavaScript, SAP UI5 adds its own powerful layer of object-oriented programming, data binding, and modular architecture, which makes complex applications easier to build and maintain. One of the biggest strengths of SAP UI5 is its huge library of UI controls. It comes with nearly 500 plus controls like buttons, tables, form, etc. You don't have to create any of this. This is already pre-built, tested, and optimized for enterprise application. SAP UI5 is fully responsive by default. That means that the same application can be automatically adapted to different screen sizes. The CPM library, which is the main library for mobile and desktop application, contains controls specifically optimized for responsive design. These controls can adjust their appearance and behavior based on the screen size. So let's start with creating a UI5 project. So for that, you will need a business application studio. So either you can click on this new project here, or you can go to here, file, new project from template. So click on the SAP FUD generate, then start. Let's choose basic. Next. So for data source, I'm just gonna select none for now. Next. So you can give any view name here. I'm just gonna say demo. So module name will be our project name. Application title. Okay, you can give description here, but I'm skipping that for now. So finish. It will take a few seconds to install all the dependencies and create a project. So a project folder has been created. So inside that, there are different folders and files. So as you can see, there is a folder called web app. This is where most of our coding is going to happen. And inside the folder, there are different folders and files. So each of them has its own functionalities. So the controller folder contains the controller files. So it is responsible for all the controller logic inside our application. So for example, like button control logic, API calls, navigation logic, validations, etc. So the design, for example, the design for the button is described in the view, and the logic for it will be described in the controller file. So CSS will be our style sheets. I89 is a source model. So it contains the language translation files. So our app can support different languages. So next is model. So model controls the data in the application. So the folder is used for data models. Model helps manage the data your application displays. So there are different types of models. So we have JSON model or data model, source model, which is our IIT. So this connects the UI with the data. So the next is views. So the view folder contains the view files, which will be similar to HTML. So it uses XML for the code. As you can see, it is similar to HTML. So the view controls what you see in the screen, like the buttons, input, everything. It's a design for the application. So next is components.js. It's the main entry point of your SAPUI5 application. It initializes the app, sets up routing, models, services. So this is like the component that combines everything together. So next is manifest.json file. This is the core configuration file of the app. It contains important metadata like app ID, app version, routing configuration, model definition, data sources. SAPUI5 heavily relies on this file to understand how to run your application. So as you can see from the folder structure, the SAPUI5 uses MVC architecture. So what is MVC architecture? MVC stands for Model, View and Controller. It helps to keep your application clean, organized, and easy to maintain because the UI, data, the business logic are in separate places. Just consider if a problem arises in the future about the UI, we know where to look. Not only for the person who created it, but also for someone who is not the original developer. So let's go with the model, view and controller. Start with the model. The model is responsible for managing the data. It stores and provides data to the view. This API supports multiple types of models such as JSON model or data model and source model. So JSON model is for local or mock data. It is like JSON values. It can be declared in our code itself, mostly in controller or component.js file. You can also set it up in the model file and configure it to the model manifest.json file. So the OData model. OData model is the live backend data from SAP system. This is like a real database where the data is stored in different place and we can access it by defining OData model to our system. It can be declared when creating the project. So when, as you remember, when we created a project, we declare the data source as name. We can set it to OData model. So the source model for translation, this deals with the IE1895. So the model is connected to the view using data binding. So when the data changes in the backend for model, the UI automatically updates. So the next is views. The view is responsible for how the application looks. Views are most commonly written in XML, but it does have other types like XML views, HTML views, JS views, and JSON views. The view contains UI controls like buttons, input fields, labels, tables. It defines the layout and structure of the screen, but it does not contain business logic. View is what the user sees and interacts. So the next is controller. The controller contains the logic, which determines the behavior of the application. So things like button click events, API and data service calls, input validations, navigation between pages, data formatting. these functionalities are handled in the controller. Whenever a user interacts with the UI, the controller is where the logic runs. Each view is usually connected to a controller, and UI elements are connected to functions inside the controller. So to round it up, the basic workflow of an SAPUI5 application starts with the user interacts with the view, like clicking a button or something. The controller catches that event and processes logic. The model updates the data. The view automatically refreshes through data binding. So to get things started with, we will create a simple form design using label, input and buttons. So for this, we will be editing the view file, view.xml file. We will start vbox. Vbox and hitchbox. So vbox and hitchbox are layered controls. Vbox arranges items vertically and hitchbox arranges items horizontally. It do have some properties like align items, justify content, fit container. So align items, vertical alignment in hitchbox, horizontal in vbox. So for align items, we have three properties like start, stretch, center, end. Center, end. So we won't be needing that. Okay, let's just align items. See, center. Okay. It also have the story container, etc. So I can try these properties. These to the spacing and the arrangement of the controls inside the vbox and hitchbox. Let's start with adding a label. To add a label, you will use the label tag. Close this. You don't need that. So inside the label tag, you have to use the text property to add text. Let's just say name. For the input, we use the input tag. So the input tag has all properties to decide what type of data it can be inputted, like text, password, numbers, etc. You can add placeholders. You can describe the maximum length of the text that can be inputted. You can also add properties like show value help request, type change, on change, and many other properties. The properties that can be used inside a control is documented in a site called SAPUI5 Developer Kit. We will be doing a video on that, so make sure to follow our playlist. So for now, for the name, I will be setting the type pass text. Okay. Also going to set the label for the name as required true. True. So okay. You can also connect the label with the input using the label for property. and you have to set an ID for the input to make it to work. ID can be called as submit. Let's copy it. Okay. So now the label is connected to the input. So for the name input, I am going to use the required property. So we will create two more fields. Is label is sorry up. So let's create one more field that will be text. So next move to the buttons. So buttons make the input go to the backend for processing. The first property is used to connect the button to the control logic. So let's start the button. You can also use text here for the label inside the button. Let's just say submit, and you can use the first property here. First and describe a function. Let's just say on submit. So we'll be creating a controller logic for this. So now let's create one more button. Let's just say button text equal to refresh. So the buttons have different properties. Let's say for type equal to accept. So what accept does is makes the button green. So we also have other properties like emphasized, which makes the button blue. Reject, which makes the button red. So the button also has several other properties like text icon. You can also use icon, type and type visual style, which we just describe here. Enabled, so you can make the button disabled, like it will be there but it cannot be used. Okay, so we can also use with property in here. So unlike enable, we also have visual disable property. So tooltip, which will make text appear and hovered over the button. So let's just see what we did. So to run this application, choose the folder of project name. Right click on it and you can see preview application. Click on that and first let's start video and open. So it will take a few seconds. As you can see, our US ready. So we made the button disabled, so that's why it's not grayed out. This is also so will do nothing. Okay, so let's make so let's just make the controller functionality for our button. Gonna the line items disappear. So any code changes we don't do here will automatically be reflected here. As you can see, limp example with equal to, let's say, 8 and it will be changed here. You don't have to rerun it. Okay, let's just write the controller logic for the button. So that come to the controller file. So inside here we will declare our function name. So function was on submit. So for now I will just use a message toast to display a success message. So message toast is a small pop-up message that appears at the bottom center of the screen for a short time and disappears automatically. So for message toast, you have to declare a new namespace. So the namespace for message toast is SAPUI5/message toast. Also describe it here. Message toast. So now use message toast dot show and inside that write your message like form okay. So let's just try it out. As you can see, we have a message post. So next we will be doing a refresh logic for our refresh button. So for that, come back to the view and set this property as true and also set the push function. So set our refresh. So, okay. So for the refresh logic, You have to get the input using the by ID command. This will select the input with a particular ID and then set the value to null. Okay, so this dot by ID b input ID set value to null. Okay, so let's check it out. As you can see, the text is now disappeared. So do the same for the other two input as well. As you can see, the refresh button works. Also, the submit button also works. So that's all for this video. I hope you got an idea on SAPUI5. So if you want to check on your own about SAPUI5, you can always refer to the SAPUI5 developer kit. It is called the SAPUI5 demo kit. Demo kit, developer kit. It's all the same. So you can search here for samples. You can also search samples. You can see the pair of buttons, etc. So feel free to go to it. We are also doing a video on how can use it effectively. So summarizing what we learned in the video, we learned about what SAP UEFI is, what it is used for, the MVC architecture, which SAP UEFI uses to keep the code and architecture of the project clean and understandable, and saw a demo about a simple UEFI form using labels, inputs and buttons. So that's it for the video. Thank you.